Did you ever wonder what a clothes peg and a pigeon have in common? No? Me neither, until I found this interesting Wikipedia article while researching for another video. Well, this threw me down a rabbit hole of internet research, and now we are where we are. IP over Avian Carriers. So what exactly is IP over Avian Carriers? It allows you to use avian carriers to transfer IP datagrams or pieces of network traffic. This technology provides a high latency, low throughput service operating at low altitude. A single carrier can only implement point-to-point connections, but scaling to multiple avian carriers can circumvent this potential issue. Scaling up is a simple task, as the avian carriers are able to utilize 3D space instead of 1D like standard Ethernet. That's like 2 more Ds. Collision avoidance is also built in at the hardware level. But how do you send data via an avian carrier? Well, that's pretty simple. All you have to do is print out the IP datagram in hexadecimal form onto a small piece of paper. This paper then gets secured to one leg of the avian carrier by using a wrapping technique and some duct tape. The length of the leg is the main contributing factor to the bandwidth. Once received, the data is simply typed into the receiving computer. Using TCP over UDP is strongly advised, as single avian carriers might be lost to storms or other natural causes. Maybe you're still not quite convinced, so here is the last argument for avian carriers. They have built-in worm detection, RFC. This was all taken from RFC 1149, but wait. What's an RFC? RFC is short for request for comment. You can kinda think of it like a blog post, just more permanent as they can't be edited after the initial post. RFCs are often used by organizations like the Internet Engineering Task Force, which develop and standardize new technologies for the internet. These RFCs are used to write about methods, behaviors, research or internet innovations. But on April 1st, they get another use. Jokes. So let's take a look at some more of these. The security flag in the IPv4 header. RFC 3514 is all about improving the security of computer systems. Many malicious programs replicate themselves to other endpoints over the network. To completely eradicate this risk, RFC 3514 proposes the use of a mandatory security flag in the header of IP packets. If the bit is set to 0, then computer systems can be 100% sure that the packet does not contain any malicious data. But if the packet contains any malicious data, it has to be set to 1 by whoever sends it. This makes detection by firewalls, routers and other networking equipment a lot easier. Hypertext Jeopardy Protocol. The Hypertext Jeopardy Protocol detailed in RFC 8565 is very similar to the more well-known Hypertext Transfer Protocol. But there's a twist. A HTTP client asks a HTTP server for a website, which then answers with the content of the website. But now a HTTP client will send the answer, and the HTTP server will send a question. Brilliant. Electricity over IP. RFC 3251, which details methods for transferring electricity over an IP network, is also quite groundbreaking. Currently there are 2 networks, the electricity network and the IP network, and this is terrible, because now we have to administer 2 different things. Multiple advantages are getting outlined, but the 2 main ones are that electricity would be able to get routed to remote places without a connection to the electric network, and that the Internet Engineering Task Force would be able to get their hands into yet another unrelated field. There are lots of small details to the proposed architecture that I can't go over in here, but I linked all RFCs in the video description so you can read those yourself. Internationalizing IPv6 using 128-bit Unicode. Unicode is currently limited to a measly 1,114,112 different characters. They aren't completely used up yet, but as the Unicode consortium doesn't really want to delete characters, we will run out of them at some point. This is why the author of RFC 8369 proposes a new Unicode standard to allow for 2 to the power of 128 characters. Coincidentally, that's the same amount as available IPv6 addresses. This means that thanks to the change, we could actually encode a complete IPv6 address in only one single character. A compact representation of IPv6 addresses. If that was a little bit too extreme, then just watch a little further, as I will now talk about RFC 1924. This one proposes another shorter form of representing those pesky long IPv6 addresses. The new proposed standard will treat an IPv6 address as a 128-bit integer encoded in base 85. This will make it possible to represent one IPv6 address in only 20 printable ASCII characters. This will be way easier to memorize. If you need to do some calculations on the address, then you can easily convert it back. Management of IP numbers by per-dhcp. Okay, now we have quite a few neat ways to represent an IPv6 address, but what is the best way to assign them to clients? In most scenarios, DHCP is sufficient, but in some scenarios the use of per-dhcp might be advantageous. A central distribution station writes IP addresses onto wooden clothes pegs and then hands those out to clients in need of an IP address. These pegs are cheap to manufacture and act as a token, giving easy oversight over available and used IP addresses. Pegs also offer the obvious advantage of being able to be clipped onto network cables to make clear which device is using which IP address. Storage of these pegs is also simple, as clotheslines are perfectly engineered for that task. Different ones can be used to represent different network ranges. It would also be possible to combine this protocol with IP over Avian Carriers to deliver these pegs remotely. A historical perspective on the use of IPv9. And as a last RFC, let's talk about number 1606 from 1994. This one is about a retrospect perspective about IPv9 and is a pretty great read, which I can't possibly summarize here. Okay, that was already it with this a little bit unusual video. All RFCs that I talked about can be found in the video description. I would strongly advise you give them a read. I also linked the Wikipedia article with even more of these humorous RFCs down there. This was the first episode from my new series about how the internet works. In the next videos I will talk about the network stack and how it makes life easier. If you don't want to miss more videos like this in the future, please consider subscribing. If you like this video, you are also allowed to give it a thumbs up. Thanks for watching, see you all next time.